My boyfriend, 47M, and I, 43F, have been together for about 6 months, but we have been friends for a long time. He is divorced, has a full-time job, and takes care of his children, 12M and 14F, full-time. I was single with no kids. My boyfriend has been taking care of his kids full-time for 4 years now. He is doing very well as a single dad, and I have a lot of respect for that. I get along very well with the kids, they've always been nice to me. The problem is, I think he spoils his kids. I've always kept my mouth shut about this until 2 weeks ago. For example, at Christmas, we went to dinner at his parents' house. His sister was also there with her family. His youngest came in with his laptop open, connected to Wi-Fi, and started gaming with his back to everyone during dinner. He hardly said anything to his family. I found this very disrespectful, especially towards the grandparents. Another example, my boyfriend always cooks dinner, sometimes 2 or 3 different things to everyone's liking. His eldest then refuses to eat what she ordered herself, gets mad because she gets hungry, and makes my boyfriend go to the store or get takeout late at night. Another example, the eldest usually sits upstairs in her room, and the youngest is downstairs gaming on his laptop or PlayStation. When he plays on his laptop, he puts on YouTube game videos on the TV. This means that we, the adults, can never watch TV. We could watch something that everyone likes, but we can't because the 12-year-old controls the TV. We just sit at the kitchen table and talk a bit. He always gives his children what they want, he never tells them no. They never have to do simple chores like load the dishwasher or feed the dog. My boyfriend does everything alone. His children treat him like a slave, and it hurts me to see that, but it also irritates me. Because of this, I don't like coming to their house anymore. As a result, he only comes to my house to crank out a quick one, literally pump and dump, making me feel like a used object. That hurt, so I finally poured my heart out. I told him he raises his kids to be spoiled and entitled. He was very offended by what I said. He said the divorce was hard on the kids and he had to fix them. According to him, they were neglected for a while when they lived with their mother. So this blew up, and I haven't seen him in 2 weeks. He keeps texting me and asking if we can talk to work it out. I miss him very much and I really love him, but I don't know if this can be solved. I don't see how things are going to change. I know it's easy for me to talk as someone without kids, and I understand very well that it is difficult as a single father. But if he doesn't teach his kids manners, I don't know how this could work out. Not even for me, but for him and for the kids. Life is going to be very difficult for them when they find out that they can't always get their way. Update 1. My boyfriend and I continued to text each other after our big fight. We slowly gained a better understanding of each other and decided to see each other again. Remember, we really do love each other, or so I thought. He came to my house a few times, and I went, though hesitantly, to his house. Everything was okay, as he assured me that his children were not aware of our argument. They were just nice to me again, as usual. We talked and had a drink. At one point, the oldest went upstairs to her room, and the youngest stayed downstairs on the couch playing video games. My boyfriend went outside to walk the dog, so he wouldn't be gone for more than a few minutes. I sat at the kitchen table with my phone as the youngest son got up and tossed his empty glass onto the counter from a distance. Of course, he missed, and the glass shattered on the floor. I said to him, "Why would you throw a glass? You know it will break." I got up to pick up the big shards and asked him to get the vacuum cleaner. I was bent over, with my back to him, when the 12-year-old came out of nowhere and low kicked me against the back of my thigh really hard. I hit my head against the low kitchen cabinets and tried to catch myself with my hand, but I already had some big shards of glass in my hand, so I got big cuts. It didn't seem too deep, but I was bleeding profusely. His sister came downstairs because of the noise and shouted, "What have you done?" She cried and tried to help me, she really did, but I got up, got my things, and got the hell out of there. Once home, I pulled the shards out of my hand, but it kept bleeding, so I drove myself to the ER. I got 12 stitches and 3 different cuts on my hand. Luckily, there was no permanent damage. I also think I had a mild concussion because I had trouble driving to and from the hospital and was still dizzy for 2 days. I also have a big bruise on my leg where he kicked me. During my hospital visit and the hours after, my ex blew up my phone. I didn't answer because I was so mad I thought I would say things I would regret. After 2 days, I told him what had happened. He was surprised by my story. He said the kids told him I freaked out at his son because he dropped a glass. I showed him pictures of my injuries, but he doesn't believe it happened as I said. Obviously, he's my ex now. I don't want anything to do with a delusional man like that ever again, let alone with his demon children. I told him I was going to report what his kid did to me to the police, and that I have the hospital records to back me up. He begged me not to because he's afraid he'll lose his kids. Their mother is not a good alternative, so they might end up in foster care. If I'm being honest, I don't want my ex to lose his kids. I still think he's trying his best, but he just can't handle it. His children are growing up to be entitled little brats. Edit. Well, this blew up beyond imagination. Thank you all for your mostly kind words and advice. So, I called the police today and made an appointment with a police officer who specializes in family matters. This will take place tomorrow. Also, I want to clarify some things because I couldn't respond to every post. My ex and I hung out a lot longer than 6 months, so I did get to see the family dynamics before we got together. I just didn't think it was that problematic at the time. My ex-BF and his ex went through a difficult divorce. I don't know many details, but I do know that things were not going well at the mother's house. The kids were removed from there and went to live with their dad permanently, so they are already in the system. I know ex-BF has been called to school a few times because of fights involving his son. The brother and sister seem to get along aside from the usual sibling arguments. I did hear ex-BF and his daughter say, on different occasions, that the son is getting bigger and stronger and sometimes hurts her unintentionally. I never had the impression that he is malicious to his sister. I think the daughter is a typical teenager who is grumpy at times and often isolates herself in her room. I don't see any problematic behavior there, other than the fact that ex-BF is bending over backward to attend to her sometimes ridiculous needs. I didn't say anything, I just thought he was spoiling her rotten. Ex-BF says the son is on the spectrum at some capacity. I've never noticed any of that, as I'm not a specialist, other than that he throws a tantrum almost every time he doesn't get his way. Ex-BF once told me that the son was bitten by the dog because he teased him, but I have often seen the son cuddling with the dog. I don't think he's hurting the dog. Update 2. I needed a day to reflect, but I got my act together and called the police to make an appointment with a local police officer. That meeting was today. I sat with him and told him everything that had happened. He was very patient and understanding and let me tell my story. I explained to him that I didn't want to press charges but that I had concerns about my ex's family and wanted them to get help, though I didn't know how. I don't want to get the son in trouble, I want to get him help. He said that as a police officer, he couldn't do anything for me because I didn't want to press charges. However, he had been working with a social worker for years and called her right away for advice. He summarized my story and asked if she was okay with being on speakerphone. We talked briefly, and although she didn't have much time, we agreed she would call me at the end of the week. She advised both me and the officer that it was important to document our conversation, along with photos of my injuries. I initially resisted because I didn't want to press charges. She explained that it was only for documentation purposes, in case it might be needed later, so I agreed. I followed the officer into what looked like an interrogation room, at least it looked that way. He typed out my statement, and I signed it. He called in another officer, a woman, to take pictures of my injuries since I had to pull my pants down. They took pictures of my hand and the bruise on the back of my leg, which is still dark purple. Now, I have to wait for the call from the social worker. Commenter. I sincerely hope you don't regret not pressing charges. That kid is too young to be diagnosed with psychopathy, but if he seriously harms or unalives the next person? And all you did was make a report? Really, lady, the signs are all there. Hope it turns out well, for everyone's sake.